My mother's tone was calm, almost casual. If you won't sign the papers, you can walk. 10 minutes later, I was standing alone on the runway. The hum of the private jet was steady, almost soothing, but inside, everything felt tense enough to shatter glass. 26-year-old Olivia Caldwell sat across from her mother, Margaret Caldwell, the Texas real estate powerhouse known for her cold smile and diamond rings that sparkled brighter than her eyes. Between them, on the glossy mahogany table, lay a stack of neatly arranged papers and a gold fountain pen. Margaret's manicured hand rested lightly on the documents. "All you need to do," she said, voice steady as silk, "is sign, Olivia. That's all. You'll still be taken care of. You'll have everything you need." Olivia looked down at the words printed in bold, "Property Transfer Agreement." Her pulse quickened. "You mean you'll have everything you need," she said quietly. Margaret's smile didn't move. "That's not fair." Olivia's voice broke slightly. "No, what's not fair is you trying to take what Dad left for both of us. He wanted me to be part of this business family, not just a figurehead you can control." The jet's engines roared as they climbed through the clouds. For a moment, Margaret said nothing. She reached for her champagne, took a sip, and looked out the window like she was above the entire world, including her daughter. Then she turned back, her tone sharper. "Olivia, your father built this company with me. I was there before you could even walk. And now you think you can run things because of sentimentality?" Olivia's eyes glistened. "I just want to keep the part that's mine." Margaret leaned forward, her perfume, sharp and expensive, filling the space between them. "There is no yours and mine, sweetheart. There's only survival, and I will not watch you ruin everything because you think you're fighting for justice." The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Mrs. Caldwell, turbulence ahead. You may want to fasten your seatbelts." Neither woman moved. Olivia took a deep breath and stared straight at her mother. "Dad told me before he died that if anything happened to him, I should never let you take control of everything. He said, and I quote, 'Your mother loves power more than peace.'" For the first time, Margaret's composure cracked. Her hand froze midair. The color drained slightly from her face. Then she laughed, low and bitter. "Your father always did enjoy his melodrama." Olivia's voice rose. "No, Mom. He knew what this was. You want all of it, not because you need it, but because you can't stand the idea that something exists without your name on it." Margaret's champagne glass hit the table, spilling across the documents. The stain spread across the word transfer like blood. "Enough," she snapped. "I have sacrificed everything for you. While you were running around with your idealistic dreams and workless art degrees, I was building an empire. And this," she jabbed her finger toward the papers, "is how you thank me?" Olivia blinked back tears. "By keeping the only thing Dad left me? Yes, that's exactly how I thank you." The jet suddenly jolted as turbulence hit. The glasses rattled. Outside, lightning flashed across the horizon. Margaret pressed the intercom button sharply. "Captain, land at the nearest airport." "Ma'am?" "Now!" "What are you doing?" Margaret leaned back in her seat, eyes cold. "You want to play independence? Fine. You can start right now." The plane descended sharply, engines roaring. Olivia's stomach twisted as the lights flickered. She looked at her mother, really looked at her, and saw something that terrified her more than anger: complete calm. They landed on a small regional runway, surrounded by rain and darkness. The pilot opened the cabin door, confused. "Mrs. Caldwell, is there an issue?" Margaret didn't even glance at him. "My daughter's getting off here." "Mom!" She stood up, grabbed the papers, and shoved them into Olivia's lap. "If you want to come back on this plane, you'll sign them." Olivia stared at her, stunned. "You're not serious." "Oh, I'm deadly serious," she said softly. "You have 5 minutes. Otherwise, you can call whoever your new moral advisors are to come pick you up." Olivia's voice shook. It's raining. There's no one out there. You can't just watch me." The pilot tried to interject. "Ma'am, it's unsafe to—" Snapped. "Do as I said." Olivia stood up, her heart pounding. She picked up the pen, looked at the papers, then looked at her mother. The words came out trembling, but firm. "Dad warned me about this moment, and I promised him I wouldn't become like you." Margaret's eyes narrowed. "Then you've made your choice." Olivia dropped the pen. "I guess I have." The rain howled as the door opened wider. The pilot looked helpless. Olivia stepped out into the downpour, clutching her small leather bag, her hair whipping in the wind. The cold hit her like knives. She turned one last time. Her mother stood in the doorway, framed by golden cabin light, looking at her not like a daughter, but like a threat finally neutralized. Then the door shut. The jet engines roared back to life, and within moments, the aircraft disappeared into the stormy sky. She stood there, soaked to the bone, surrounded by nothing but the sound of thunder and the faint echo of her mother's last words. "You'll regret this, Olivia." Lightning flashed again, and in that instant she saw something at the edge of the runway, a man standing under a flickering lamppost, watching her. She froze. He started walking toward her. The rain came harder now, thick, heavy drops that stung Olivia's face as she pulled her thin coat tighter. The private jet's lights had long vanished into the storm, leaving behind only the hum of wind and the faint whine of a distant generator. She took a step toward the small building ahead, the only sign of life on this lonely stretch of airstrip. A flickering lamppost buzzed overhead, and beneath it stood a tall man in a dark coat holding an umbrella. "Rough night to be out here," he said, his voice deep with the calm drawl of someone who'd seen his share of storms. Olivia hesitated. "Who are you?" He stepped closer, the light revealing a weathered face, lines that spoke of hard years and quiet strength. "Name's Hank Doyle. I'm the night mechanic here. Usually just me, a toolbox, and a bad radio signal. Didn't expect company tonight." Olivia looked away, embarrassed. "I wasn't supposed to be here." Hank raised an eyebrow. "Most folks who end up here weren't supposed to be. Come on, there's a heater in the hangar. You'll freeze out here." Inside the small hangar, the air smelled of oil and rain. Old planes sat under tarps, and the heater in the corner gave off a low orange glow. Hank poured her a cup of coffee from a thermos that had seen better days. "So," he said, settling onto a metal stool, "who dropped someone in the middle of a storm? You make an enemy up there?" Olivia almost laughed, but the lump in her throat made it impossible. "My mother." Hank blinked. "Your mother kicked you off a jet?" She nodded, staring into the steaming cup. "She wanted me to sign over my inheritance. My father passed away last year. He left part of the company to me. She wants it all." Hank gave a low whistle. "People do strange things for money. But blood? That's supposed to mean something." Olivia sighed. "It used to." They sat in silence, the only sound the rain hammering on the tin roof. Then Hank asked softly, "You got somewhere to go?" Olivia hesitated. "I can book a hotel in the morning. I'll figure it out." He nodded. "All right. You can stay here till the weather clears. My shift ends at dawn." She smiled faintly. "Thank you." Hank shrugged. "Wouldn't sit right letting someone freeze for their principles." As the night wore on, Olivia couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed her mother's words, that cold certainty in her voice. "You'll regret this." She pulled out her phone, 1 bar of signal. Several missed calls, all from her mother's lawyer, Daniel Pierce. Her stomach tightened. She opened the voicemail. "Olivia, it's Daniel.
Look, your mother has already filed the transfer forms with your digital signature. We need to talk immediately. Her heart dropped. She forged my signature? Hank, who had been cleaning a wrench nearby, looked over. Trouble? Her voice cracked. She's actually doing it. She's stealing everything, and she has the connections to make it stick. Hank set the wrench down. You can't let that slide. She shook her head. You don't understand. My mother owns people, judges, politicians. She built this empire from nothing, and she'll burn anyone who gets in her way, even me. Hank studied her for a long moment. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small photograph, a faded picture of a young girl holding a toy airplane. My daughter, he said quietly. Haven't seen her in 10 years. Her mother walked out with her when I couldn't give 'em the life they wanted. I learned something that day. Money buys comfort, but it kills love. Olivia looked up. What happened to her? Oh, she writes sometimes. She says she forgave me. That's all I needed to hear. For the first time, Olivia smiled, a small, broken thing that somehow felt warm. Maybe I'll never get that from my mother. Hank leaned back. Maybe not, but maybe she'll have to lose everything before she remembers what she had. Before Olivia could respond, her phone buzzed again, this time a text notification. It was from her family's financial manager. Olivia, urgent. The company board meeting has been moved up. Your mother presented new transfer documents showing your consent. Olivia's fingers went cold. She's actually doing it? She's stealing everything, and she has the connections to make it stick. Hank frowned. Can you stop it? Only if I'm there, but the meeting's in Dallas. That's 6 hours away. Hank stood, grabbed his keys off the hook. Not if we take the service truck. Olivia blinked. You'd drive me there? He smiled faintly. Can't say no to someone fighting for what's right. They hurried out into the storm, the rain turning into sleet. Hank's old pickup rattled to life, headlights cutting through the darkness. As they pulled out of the airstrip, Olivia stared out at the black road ahead. Her reflection in the window looked older somehow, harder. She whispered to herself, You can't win this one, Mom. Hank glanced over. You sure you want to do this? Olivia nodded. I'm done being quiet. Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the road, and in that blinding flash, she saw something in the distance. A black SUV parked on the side of the road, its engine running, windows tinted. As they passed it, she caught a glimpse of the license plate. CWLDMAN, her mother's private chauffeur. Her pulse raced. Hank, that's her driver. He frowned. You think they're following you? I think, she said slowly, they're making sure I never make it to Dallas. The truck's taillights disappeared into the storm, but the SUV's headlights followed, silent, steady, and too close. Olivia's mother has sent someone to intercept her, but why? To stop her from confronting the board? Or something even darker?
The road ahead was a blur of rain and headlights. Hank gripped the steering wheel tight as the wind battered his old pickup. Olivia sat beside him, her phone screen glowing faintly in the darkness. Every few seconds, she looked behind them. The black SUV was still there, headlights steady, keeping its distance, but never disappearing. They're following us, Olivia whispered. Hank didn't look away from the road. They're following too close to be a coincidence. Her fingers trembled as she tried to call the police, but the signal flickered again. One bar, then none. Damn it, she hissed, hitting the side of her phone. There's no service out here. Don't panic, Hank said calmly. They won't try nothing while we're moving. Once we hit the interstate, we'll lose them. Olivia swallowed hard, staring out at the storm-choked sky. You don't know my mother. If she wants something done, it gets done. Hank shot her a look. Then you better want it more. The truck roared as he pressed harder on the gas, water splashing up from the tires. The storm had turned the rural road into a river. Each flash of lightning lit the SUV in the rearview mirror. Closer now, almost too close. Then, as they rounded a bend, the SUV suddenly surged forward. "Hank!" Olivia screamed. The black vehicle swerved, bumping the truck's rear bumper. The old pickup fishtailed, tires screeching on the slick road. Hank wrestled with the wheel. "Hold on!" The truck slid sideways, slamming into the roadside ditch with a sickening crunch. The world spun, then stopped. Steam hissed from the engine. Olivia's breath came in ragged gasps. Are you okay?" "Yeah," Hank groaned, unbuckling his seatbelt. "You?" She nodded, still shaking. They hit us on purpose." The SUV idled a few yards behind them. The driver's door opened slowly. Olivia's heart hammered as a man stepped out, tall, built like a wall, wearing a black suit soaked by rain. His face was shadowed, but his voice cut through the storm. "Miss Caldwell," he called out, "your mother's worried sick. She asked me to bring you home." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Home? You mean back to a prison?" "Let's not make this difficult," he said, stepping closer. Hank opened his door, standing between them. "She ain't going nowhere with you, friend." The man gave a tight smile. "Then I'm afraid I'll have to insist." Before Hank could respond, the man lunged forward, grabbing his coat. They struggled briefly. Hank swung a wench from his belt, catching the man in the shoulder. He stumbled back, cursing. "Run!" Hank shouted. Olivia didn't hesitate. She bolted into the darkness, rain blinding her as she ran down the side of the road. Her lungs burned, her shoes splashing through mud and water. Behind her, she could hear shouting, Hank yelling, the man's heavy footsteps, then the sound of a car door slamming. Headlights flared again. The SUV's engine roared to life. Panic surged through her. She veered off the road, crashing through wet grass and into a cluster of trees. Her heart pounded as the vehicle sped past, then slowed, backing up slowly, searching. She pressed her back against a tree trunk, forcing herself to stay silent. Minutes passed. Finally, the SUV pulled away, its lights fading into the distance. Olivia sank to her knees, tears mixing with the rain. "Oh God, Hank!" She pulled out her phone again. 2 bars of service now. She dialed 911 with shaking hands. It took 20 minutes for the sheriff's car to arrive. Red and blue lights cut through the storm as 2 officers helped her into the back seat, wrapping her in a blanket. They found Hank by the truck, dazed but alive, bruised but grinning faintly when he saw her. "Told ya I'd been through worse storms," he rasped. At the small-town police station, Olivia sat in a dry shirt, sipping bitter coffee as she gave her statement. When she mentioned her mother's name, Margaret Caldwell, the deputy exchanged a knowing glance with the sheriff. "Caldwell? You mean the real estate woman? She's got half this county under her thumb." Olivia nodded, exhausted. "She's behind all this. She forged my signature, tried to have me stopped from reaching Dallas. I can prove it. My father's lawyer, Daniel Pierce, has the originals." The sheriff sighed. "Miss Caldwell, I believe you, but we're talking about a woman who donates to half the law enforcement funds in this state. You're gonna need more than a story." Olivia clenched her fists. "Then I'll get proof." As if on cue, her phone buzzed again. A message from Daniel Pierce. "Olivia, you were right. I found something in your father's will that changes everything. Call me, immediately." Her heart skipped. "He found something," she whispered. She called him back instantly, but the line went straight to voicemail. "Daniel, it's me. Please, call me back." She looked at the clock on the wall, 2:47 a.m. Something in her gut twisted. Moments later, a news alert popped up on her screen. Her blood ran cold. "Breaking! Private jet owned by Caldwell Enterprises makes emergency landing in New York. Passenger reported unresponsive." She froze. "No! No! It can't be!" The sheriff leaned over her shoulder. "That's your mother's plane?" Olivia's hands trembled. "Yes!" The article updated again. New text loading across the screen. "Authorities confirm 1 passenger found unconscious on board. Female, 57, condition critical." Her phone slipped from her hand and clattered onto the table. The last thing she remembered was Hank's voice, low and steady beside her. "Looks like fate's got its own way of teaching lessons." She looked up slowly, eyes wide, whispering the words like a prayer and a curse at once. "Mom?"
Olivia's mother's jet has crash-landed. She's alive, but in critical condition, and the lawyer who found the truth has gone silent. Did fate punish Margaret, or did someone else make sure she never left that plane alive?
The sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air as Olivia walked down the hospital corridor, her footsteps echoing against the white tiles. She hadn't slept in nearly 30 hours. The world felt heavy, unreal. Outside, dawn was breaking, sunlight trying to pierce through gray storm clouds. Inside, she felt like the storm was still raging. At the nurse's desk, she gave her name, Olivia Caldwell. I'm here for my mother, Margaret Caldwell. The nurse, a kind woman with tired eyes, nodded. She's in room 308. They stabilized her a few hours ago. She's asking for you. That stopped Olivia cold. Asking for me? The nurse smiled gently. Seems like you're all she's been asking for. Olivia took a shaky breath and walked to the door. When she pushed it open, she froze. Margaret Caldwell, the woman who had once seemed untouchable, lay small and pale against the white sheets. Tubes and monitors surrounded her, beeping softly. Her makeup was gone, her hair disheveled. For the first time in Olivia's life, her mother didn't look powerful. She looked human. Margaret's eyes fluttered open. Olivia. Her voice was faint but clear. Olivia stood at the foot of the bed. They said you were unconscious. I was, Margaret whispered. I woke up an hour ago. The doctors say I'm lucky. She gave a small, humorless laugh. Funny word, isn't it? Lucky. Silence stretched between them, the weight of years pressing down. Finally, Olivia said, You tried to take everything from me. Margaret closed her eyes. I know. You forged my signature. You sent men to stop me. You threw me off a plane like I was nothing. Her voice broke, trembling between anger and pain. Why, Mom? Why would you do that? Margaret turned her head slowly toward the window, where the weak sunlight bled into the room. Because I was afraid. Olivia frowned. Afraid of what? Losing money? Margaret shook her head weakly. Losing control. Losing you. Olivia blinked. That's insane, Mom. You did lose me. Tears slipped down the older woman's cheeks. When your father died, I didn't know how to keep things together. He trusted you so much. He left you power. And I thought if you had it, you'd walk away from me completely. I thought if I controlled everything, I could keep you close. Olivia stared at her, her throat tight. So you tried to own me instead. Margaret nodded. I did what I always do. I tried to win. For the first time, Olivia saw the truth. Her mother wasn't a villain. She was a woman who didn't know how to love without control. The heart monitor beeped softly, the only sound for a long moment. Then Olivia spoke, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. Daniel called me before the crash. Margaret's eyes opened again. Daniel? He found something in Dad's will. I reached into my bag and pulled out the documents, stained and crumpled, but still legible. There was a clause you never saw, a safety clause. Margaret frowned faintly. What clause? Olivia laid the page on her lap. It says that if either heir attempts to illegally obtain ownership of the other's portion, everything, the entire estate, transfers automatically to charity. Margaret's breathing hitched. What? You forged my signature, Mom. You triggered the clause. For a moment, Margaret said nothing, just stared at the paper as if it were a ghost. Then she laughed softly, bitterly. So, it's all gone. All of it. The company, the assets, everything. It's over. Margaret's laugh turned into a soft, broken sob. Your father, he always was smarter than me. Olivia felt a lump rise in her throat.
He wasn't trying to punish you, Mom. He was trying to save you from yourself. Margaret turned her gaze back to her daughter, for the first time not with anger or superiority, but humility. Maybe he finally did. Olivia hesitated, her emotions torn. Every part of her wanted to scream, to walk away and never look back. But as she looked at the frail woman before her, her mother, who had destroyed and loved in equal measure, she saw something shift inside her. She reached out and took her mother's hand. Margaret was surprised. You're not walking away?" Olivia shook her head slowly. "You already lost everything once, Mom. I won't make you lose me again." Tears streamed down Margaret's cheeks. "I don't deserve that." "Maybe not," Olivia said softly. "But forgiveness isn't about deserving. It's about ending the war." The two women sat in silence, the sound of the monitor steady and calm now. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight spilled gently through the window, warming the room in a way that felt almost like peace. After a long time, Margaret whispered, "What will you do now?" Olivia smiled faintly. "Start over. Without money, without manipulation. Just live. Maybe even build something that matters." Her mother nodded weakly. "Then maybe I can too." A nurse entered quietly. "Visiting time's over." Olivia stood, squeezing her mother's hand one last time. "I'll come back tomorrow." Margaret smiled, the first real smile Olivia had seen in years. "I'll be here." As Olivia walked out of the hospital, the morning sun fully broke through the clouds, golden light spilling across the parking lot. Hank was waiting by the truck, leaning against the hood with 2 coffees in hand. "Hank awake?" Olivia nodded. "Yeah. She's, different." He handed her a cup. "Storms will do that to people." She looked up at the sky, bright, now open. "Guess they do." They got into the truck, and as Hank pulled away, Olivia glanced back at the hospital once more. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel trapped between love and resentment. She just felt free. And somewhere deep down, she knew her father would have been proud, not because she fought, but because she forgave. Sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't money or power, it's peace. And peace only comes when you stop fighting ghosts and start healing wounds.